Chelsea fans, welcome back to Talking Chelsea. Welcome back to your Chelsea news. In today's video, we have a lot to cover. Chelsea have finally set a price for Christopher Nkunku for this summer transfer window. There is an update regarding Romeo Lavia ahead of the Everton game this weekend. We are linked with KEVIN De Bruyne, which is very interesting. And there's another update regarding Joao Felix. Now, of course, I'll be giving my thoughts and opinions on everything that's been reported, but more importantly, I want to know what you guys think down below in the comments. And before we get into the video, make sure you leave a like and subscribe if you are a Chelsea fan who enjoys Chelsea content. We're on the road to 10k by the end of 2025. Kicking things off, Kieran Gill has reported that Romeo Lavia is set to receive his first minutes after injury this weekend. Confidential understands that Lavia trained today without any issues. This is fantastic news. Romeo Lavia is one of our best players when he stays fit. And that's, of course, the famous Chelsea line, when they stay fit. We used to say the same about Reece James. We say the same about Lavia. We say the same about Kungu. Saying the same about Fofana. Maybe not Kungu this season because he has stayed fit for large spells and he's been very underwhelming. I think we could all agree on that. But in regards to Romeo Lavia, I hope that he can get some minutes and stay fit between now and the end of the season, because he is going to be a massive positive in this team going into the last run of the season. Romeo Lavia is a fantastic player. He really, really is, and I wish that a stiff breeze wouldn't injure him. I really do, because when he plays in that midfield, he is the glue that keeps our framework together. He's so cool, calm, collected on the ball, whether he's receiving the ball from someone like Sanchez right at the edge of his own box and turning out between players to push the play up, whether he's breaking up play, whether he's just giving that support to Moises Caicedo in that 6 role, or Fernandes, depending on who he's playing with. 9 times out of 10, it is Caicedo, though. He's just a fantastic player, and I don't know where things have gone wrong for Romeo Lavia, because we signed him for around £45 million, and I think it's a fantastic sign. He's a young player with so much potential, and he's already showing an extensive skill set. It's just his reoccurring injuries. You know, he's getting them during training, he's getting them during games. I think in the last 20 months he's been at Chelsea, I think he's played 14 games. 7 of them he's played 45 minutes, and the other 7 have been more than 45, but less than 90. He has very selective minutes with Chelsea because he's constantly injured. So I am hoping that with a lot of the players that are, you know, injury prone, Fofana excluded from this because he's recently picked up an injury which has gone a lot longer than expected. He, you know, needs surgery, etc., and he won't be even looked at in terms of returning or training until after the Club World Cup, where they can really assess things. Reece James had a string of injuries back to back, and it was really annoying. You know, it was so annoying because, again, he's a world-class player when he's fit. But he seems to have overcome that due to Enzo Maresca's, you know, man management and the way that he's been utilised in games throughout the season to keep him fit. And he's now on the longest stint of fitness that he has been on in the last few years. And Romeo Lavia was kind of getting better, where we were utilising him here and there and wrapping him in cotton wool. Maresca said multiple times he's not in the Conference League squad, you know, to not overwork him and overload him with the amount of games this season. They really want to kind of protect him as much as possible. And I feel like Enzo's done very well with a lot of players in terms of managing minutes. All right, I know we don't want to give him a lot of credit right now. He's sort of public enemy number 1 with a lot of Chelsea fans. I totally understand that. But, you know, credit where it's due. He has managed a lot of minutes rather well in terms of keeping players fit, especially when they're returning from injury or preventing injuries. Romeo Lavia seems to be the anomaly to that, though. Romeo Lavia is the anomaly to that scenario because, like I said, he gets injured in training, he's getting injured in games, he's getting injured just when walking to the shops to get milk. It just seems quite ridiculous right now. I'm just being very hopeful in, you know, hoping and sort of assuming that, you know, we take it one injury at a time, and this injury should hopefully be one of the last ones for a long time. You know, we can only have fingers crossed and hope that is true, because if his injuries keep continuing, we then start asking questions of, like, you know, do we look to move him on? We can't have a player that plays, you know, 14 games in 20 months and they're only like half a game just sat there. Yes, he's on low wages. Yes, we didn't pay a massive amount for him. Yes, he's young and he can develop. I don't want to get rid of him, but if, you know, availability is the number 1 attribute you need in your footballers, and if he's just never available, then you kind of have to, you know, allude down that road of asking questions at some point. I'm praying that he is fit, healthy, and stays fit for the end of the season, because he's a massive impact in this squad for the last run of the game. I would love to know your thoughts and opinions down below. Ben Jacobs has reported that Chelsea are not planning to pursue a deal for Rafael Leao. Now, this is a winger we've been linked with heavily in the January window, after the summer window shut last season. Recently, it's not been as much, but there's still been murmurs and whispers, Rafael Leao's on the radar. And I remember reporting on it over on TikTok, and, this is the first time on YouTube kind of talking about it in a bit more in depth. I've always said that Chelsea are just not going to pay his wages. Rafael Leao is a fantastic player. Some fans really don't sort of rate him as highly as sort of like the hype that goes with him. I think he's a superstar, right? He is one of them superstar players that are on big money wages, big money transfers. He gets you on the edge of the seat. He excites you when he plays. He's always trying to beat a man. Regardless of his recent form or, his overall game is a lot better than what we currently have on that left-hand side, right? So it doesn't surprise me that Chelsea are not planning to go after Rafael Leao purely because of the wage structure and things like that. The other thing as well I look at it is, from Rafael Leao looking in at Chelsea, would he want to come to us? Knowing how unstable things can be for players and how we look to move people on. And, you look at the Xiao Felix thing, which we'll speak about later on in the video, how he's kind of been moving around all of Europe the last few years, trying to lock down a starting space. Is Rafael Leao a player that Enzo Maresca would want, or is that an opportunistic thing that the board are going after because there could be some sort of deal or sell-on fee that we could make profit from? So it doesn't surprise me that Chelsea are not planning to pursue it because massive wages, big transfer fee. However, I would love to know your thoughts and opinions down below. It has been announced that Chelsea will be coached on the touchline by Willie Cabillo and staff on Saturday as Enzo Maresca serves a one-match touchline ban for 3 yellow cards. This is ridiculous. We swapped one bold guy for another bold guy. This is going to be a weird sighting at Everton, even if we are at home, this Saturday. It's going to be a weird sighting seeing Caballero in the technical area dishing out orders and trying to get the team to play how Maresca wants us to play. And I kind of back it, I kind of back it. Caballero's been there a long time. He was actually a good keeper for us when he was called and relied upon. I think people forget that, I think one of the games he had against Man City, he was absolutely outstanding many years ago. And I know that he's part of our coaching team and he's part of Maresca's sort of line-up in the backroom staff. It'll be very interesting to see how he is on the touchline and how he gets the players to play. And, is Maresca going to be in the stands? Is he going to be in the tunnel? It's going to be a weird scenario, but I quite like the fact that Maresca is serving a ban, not because he's not going to be there, but it shows the passion. The yellow cards he's got have all been from him celebrating Chelsea goals because we've needed the result, or it was just, I don't know, there's a lot of emotion tied to that fixture. As far as I'm aware anyway, one of the yellow cards might have been for talking to the the fourth official, I think, but 2 of them are 100% were for celebration, and the last one was against Fulham. So I just find this quite funny, quite interesting that Willie Caballero will be at our touchline against Everton this Saturday. But yeah, let me know your thoughts. I think a lot of Chelsea fans don't want Maresca there anyway, so you're looking forward to not seeing him on the touchline and seeing another bold guy instead in Willie Caballero. From the camera panning in, it's going to look funny because it's going to be a bold guy that's a lot taller. But let me know your thoughts down below. Maxi Foot have reported that Chelsea could let Christopher Nkunku leave for as little as 40 million euros this summer, with Manchester United one of the clubs interested. This makes me sad. And it's not because we're looking to offload Christopher Nkunku. I think the writing's on the wall. It's inevitable. He doesn't want to be at Chelsea. I don't want to see him play anymore for Chelsea because he's been absolute poo. And that's just being frank. When we signed Christopher Nkunku, I was so excited. He had such a good profile and he's such a good time in the Bundesliga, and he was one of those players that I just always used to look at and be like, he is class, and Chelsea is signing him, he's going to light the world up. And he has been unlucky with injuries, I'm not disputing that. I think we were sold a dream in that pre-season when he absolutely lit things up when he linked up with Jackson until he got injured, and he was out for such a long time. And then again, it was trying to get him to come back, stay fit and get minutes. This season, it's been a completely different story where he's had plenty of opportunities. He's been played left wing, as a 10, as a false 9. He's been played everywhere where he prefers to play, and it's just not really worked out for him. So I think the writing is on the wall, and Chelsea are going to look to offload him in the summer. I would be very surprised if we look to keep him because he's so disinterested. He doesn't press. He just doesn't want to be there. He doesn't put any effort in. I think I saw him a couple games ago make a couple sprints, and we were all gassed about it because I was like, oh, it's the most running we've seen him do in a while. And Maresca has come out and defended him, saying, look, it's not a lack of interest or a lack of effort. He's just trying to get involved and blah, blah, blah. But look, he's going to come out and say things like that. 40 million euros, though, does seem a little low. I know that we bought him for around, 50, 60 million. pounds. And I know he's not in the greatest of forms and he has been injured, and that does become a factor. But I reckon it would be more like 40 million pounds as a minimum rather than 40 million euros, because in pounds that probably works out about what, 32, 33 million if the conversions are right at the time. So I think 40 million pounds is about right for someone like Christopher Nkunku. And Manchester United have been heavily linked with him from the last summer as the window shut, this January massively. I wouldn't want to see him go to a Premier League rival or another Premier League club, if I'm being brutally honest. However, if it means it gets him off our books and we can kind of use that money to strengthen the squad in that position, in that area, I'm all for it. I think that Nkunku could potentially go back to the Bundesliga. I know we had this whole saga in January. He wanted to go Bayern Munich, but we were asking for silly money off of Bayern Munich and they said no. We wanted like 70 million or something. It could have even been 80 million. Correct me if I'm wrong. And Bayern Munich were like, nah, we're all right. But I feel like Christopher Nkunku as a player will probably want to go back to the Bundesliga because that's where he played his best football. That's where he played his best football in his career. I mean, if he wants to stay in the Premier League and go to Manchester United, I don't want him to go, but it also wouldn't bother me that much. I think it would be another signing that's ended up like Mason Mount, where that hurt when he left, because we know what Mason did for the club, and there was a lot of connection there. There's nowhere near as much of that with someone like Nkunku. But he's gone to United, he's been injured a few times, hasn't really made a massive impact. And I feel like Nkunku going to United, he will definitely play better. I think Amarim will get a lot more out of him for sure. But I don't think it's one of those signings that we would massively regret. But again, as a Chelsea fan, I don't want to see him go to Manchester United. I'd much rather him go abroad. But let me know your thoughts down below. Do you think 40 million pounds is enough? Would you take that for Christopher Nkunku, or are you demanding more money? Court Offside have reported that Chelsea's Joao Felix has begun talks over a return to his former club Benfica in the summer. This is another player that the whole scenario, the whole situation makes me a little sad. I like watching Xiao Felix play. I know that he's not got much of an end product and he's frustrating to watch. But when he's on his game and he's just gliding past players, or he's picking the ball up deep and moving them transitions forward, or trying to pick a pass out, I just enjoy watching him play. I'm not saying he's the best in the world. I'm not saying that he is perfect for Chelsea. But in that first 6-month loan he had at Chelsea, he brought some excitement to that team. People were looking forward to watching him play, and we wanted him to do the best that we can. We had the chance for him. He said publicly before, like, he loves the place. There's a song for him. He felt very welcome. He had the freedom to express himself. This season, again, we now know he was a make-weight for the Conor Gallagher deal. Enzo Maresca didn't even want him, which means he was kind of shoehorned in as and when. He played Conference League games mostly, which for someone like Joao Felix's level, he doesn't want to be doing. Obviously, he played very well in that competition, and he got sort of minimum minutes in the Premier League. Again, he had like a handful of good performances. I remember one, I think it was actually the Everton away game. We had Cole Palmer and Joao Felix both playing, and Felix was actually coming in off the left. And that half that they played, because he was pulled off at half-time, we looked very fluid and very frightening going forward. Fortunately, no end product there because of the result of the game. But I don't know. I just really like Joao Felix, and I'm quite sad that it's not worked out for him. I'm sad that he is literally just being sold to every European club going. Like, we had him 6 months, we loaned him out. And to be fair, we kind of shot ourselves in the foot with that one, because the second half of the season, when we had the likes of Jackson injured, Madueke injured, we could have really done with someone like Joao Felix to come in and, just showcase what he can do. Because I feel like as a false nine, Joao Felix is clear of Christopher Nkunku in that role. That's just my opinion. Again, he could also play off of that left-hand side. We've seen him do that. So I feel like he would have got a lot of minutes at Chelsea in the second half of the season because of the injuries, which is a shame, because we would have seen him play a lot more. And I think that gives him more of a chance to get a run of games, get his confidence up, fit into the system a lot more, and kind of prove to Enzo and prove to the fans, like, I am a good player, I want to stay here type thing. But he's gone to AC Milan on loan. He scored that debut goal. They're not even happy with him. They don't want to keep him. So Chelsea are looking to offload him. It's just a bit of a mess, really. So apparently he wants to go back to Benfica. That makes a lot of sense for him. I think boyhood club, or the club that he broke through at. He was willing to reduce his wages to come to Chelsea, so potentially that shouldn't be an issue for Benfica. I think it's all going to be about transfer fees. So if you are happy to sell Joao Felix, let me know down below in the comments, what transfer fee would you think is acceptable for Joao Felix? Because I think if you could get around 40 million euros for him, or 40 million pounds, I think you're laughing. Whether we break even or not, I think for a player that has been shipped around a lot, hasn't had a steady run of games, hasn't had a steady run of form, to kind of at least break even on someone like Joao Felix is amazing. And if we can make any profit on him, unbelievable. But I don't want to see him go. I think that's more of an emotional thing rather than a statistical thing. You know, I know he's not been great in a Chelsea shirt. I just enjoy Felix as a player, you know. So let me know your thoughts down below. And lastly, Football Insider have reported that Chelsea are interested in bringing KEVIN De Bruyne back to the club this summer as a free agent. Do you want to see KEVIN De Bruyne stay in the Premier League? This is never going to happen. Right, this is just never going to happen, and I wanted to talk about it. I found it interesting. For me, this is purely a transfer rumour with no concrete foundations whatsoever, but I did want to have a conversation about it. I want to have a discussion with you guys, right? Would you take KEVIN De Bruyne at Chelsea? I'd take him in a heartbeat. I'd take him in a heartbeat, especially on a free. Yes, we'd have to pay him a lot more in weekly wages, but you're not paying a fee for him, so it kind of balances out. Same thing we did with Tosin, right? We pay him a lot more in a weekly wage, and he gets a sign-on bonus because he was a free agent. KEVIN De Bruyne would be the perfect player to fit into Enzo Maresca's system in terms of experience, the way he can play, the skill set. He's an absolute icon in the Premier League. Like, he really is. You know, people argue that he's the best ever midfielder that's ever played in the Premier League, right? So, you know, he's been here, done that, won all the trophies. The reasons I think he won't do that is because of the history with Chelsea. Yes, we signed him and we loaned him out a few times, and he tried getting into the first team and it didn't work out, and Mourinho actually sold him. Same with Lukaku, similar thing. So I just don't feel like KEVIN De Bruyne would come back to Chelsea based on the previous history. However, I could be massively wrong. I could be massively wrong, and he might want to come to Chelsea for one last sort of payday in the Premier League and see what happens. For me personally, I think the experience and the skill set alone, it would be an incredible signing if we could have KEVIN De Bruyne at Chelsea, even if it is for a season. Because you think of our squad and how young it is, and how, you know, the experience in the squad is coming from the squad itself that's played together for a year coming up to. Which is wild when you think about it, right? We desperately need some experience, people that have been there and done it in this squad. And if you could get someone of the caliber of KEVIN De Bruyne on a free, it would be unbelievable. I mean, obviously, the massive stumbling block when you look past the emotional side of the history and the bad blood between Chelsea and KEVIN De Bruyne over the years is his wages. When he on something stupid like 450 grand a week or 400 grand a week at Man City, we're not going to pay that. We're just not going to pay that. However, as he's on like the tailing off of his career, he might be happy to take a pay cut to stay in the Premier League for an extra season because he's had them years earning the mega bucks and winning all the trophies at City. I don't know. I just thought it would be very interesting. Chelsea being linked with KEVIN De Bruyne on a free. Honestly, it'd be a world class. We'd win the window with a sign like that. That'd be unbelievable. But I just can't see it happening. But I'm very interested to hear your thoughts down below in the comments. And that's all the latest Chelsea news. Let me know your thoughts and opinions on everything that's been reported down below in the comment section. I love having a conversation with you guys. And if you did watch this far to the end of the video, firstly, you're a real one. And secondly, there'll be a thumbnail that pops up on the screen. So if you are a Chelsea fan who enjoys Chelsea content, make sure you click that thumbnail because you'll enjoy that video too.